Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, dear students, depending on where you are. I want to welcome you to the second lecture of BCH 308, that is food biochemistry, and our topic today will be food composition, functional foods, and nutraceuticals. Nutraceuticals is derived from the word nutrition and pharmaceuticals. What will be the objectives of this lecture? At the end of this lecture, you will be expected to define food composition and describe the major and minor components of food. You will be expected to explain the role or roles of major and minor components of foods. You will be able to distinguish between functional food and nutraceuticals. Fourthly, you will be in a position to discuss the health benefits or benefits associated with functional foods and nutraceuticals. While we are taking this, we will examine recent trends and technological advances. And finally, we will evaluate the practical applications of functional foods and nutraceuticals. Now, let's look at food composition. How do we define food composition? It is a term simply used to mean the various constituents of food and their relative proportion. The various components of food and their constituent proportions. You can define it either ways. Now, these components of food are of two types. We have the major components as well as the minor components. The major components are classified as water, carbohydrates, protein, lipids, vitamins, and to some extent minerals. While the minor components include enzymes, pigments, organic acid, and flavor compounds. These minor components are really present in very small quantities, unlike the major components. So, food composition refers to the various constituents of food and their relative proportions. For example, if you say that a food contains carbohydrate, for instance, if a particular food contains carbohydrates, in what proportion is it present? In what proportion is protein present? And what proportion are enzymes or pigments present? Now, whether major or minor food components, they have their roles. For example, water acts as solvent for many biochemical reactions in food and in the body. It maintains the texture and freshness of food. It facilitates transport of nutrients and metabolites in the body, and regulates temperature and supports metabolic reactions in food. It also influences microbial growth and shelf life. Remember or note that the more food contains water, the more easy it gets spoiled, and the lower the shelf life. On the other hand, a food that is not water surplus or that is dried lasts longer than the one that has more water in it. So this major components of food perform important functional and structural roles in both human and food system. The components work together to provide energy, support, body functions, maintain health, and influence the physical and chemical characteristics of food. Now, let's look at carbohydrates as a component of the major food composition. They serve as the primary energy source for the body. It provides sweetness, as you have in sugar, and flavor in food. They serve as energy reserves, as we have in starch in plants. They contribute to food structure and texture, as you have in baked food. They provide dietary fibers that aid in digestion, improve bowel movement, and help regulate cholesterol and blood glucose level. How about protein? Protein on their own support growth and tissue repair in the body. They form enzymes, proteins, and antibodies necessary for metabolism and immunity. Provide structural components of muscles, skin, and other tissues. Contribute functional properties in food and nutritional quality by supplying essential amino acid. Now, fats and oil, what we popularly call lipids in biochemistry. Now, fat and oil provide a concentrated source of energy, far better than you have in carbohydrates. As you already know in your intermediary carbohydrate metabolism. Lipids also enhance flavor, texture, and mouthfeel of food. It serves as carrier for fat-soluble vitamins, the vitamins A, D, E, and K. Lipids also provide insulation and protection for body organs. They contribute to satiety and help regulate energy intake. Now let's look at vitamins. Vitamins act as coenzymes or regulators of many metabolic reactions or processes. They support immune function, growth, and development. In addition, they promote proper functioning of the body system, like vision, bone, and blood formation. Vitamin helps in energy metabolism, although they do not supply energy directly. Now let's look at the roles of minerals as food components or as major food components. Minerals support formation of bones and teeth, particularly calcium and phosphorus. That is, they make bone. Apart from their formation, they make them tough. They maintain fluid and electrolyte balance, as in the case of sodium and potassium. They assist in nerve transmission and muscle contraction, act as cofactor for many enzymes in metabolic reactions. They participate in oxygen transport and other physiological processes. Remember when the hemoglobin has iron in its central molecule, while myoglobin has magnesium in its central molecule that helps to transport or that helps to bind oxygen for transport. Now let's look at the minor components, the roles of the minor food components, starting with the enzyme. Of course, they catalyze biochemical reaction in food system and in the body, promote ripening and maturation of fruits, influence food processing reaction such as fermentation and tenderization. It contributes to quality deterioration in some cases. Pigments on their own provide color to food. Remember this food coloring you use, they are all pigments. Consumer appeal and perception of quality. You may see something that is so bright, oh, you say this must be good, even if it is adulterated. Because of the color, no, you'll be attracted to it. So you have to be careful. Indicates ripeness and freshness of fruit and vegetables. Of course, none of you will buy a vegetable in the market that is yellow in color, except that plant is originally is naturally yellow in color. Otherwise, nobody will buy it. Now, examples of some pigments are carotenoids and anthocyanins. Now, let's look at the flavor compounds. Flavor compounds are important because they determine the characteristic taste and aroma of food, enhance palatability and consumer acceptance. They contribute to the overall sensory profile of food, including sweetness, bitterness, sourness, like you have in yogurt, bitterness like you have in what is it now, bitter leaf, and sweetness as you have in sugar, and then aroma as you have in you know, when you open those of you that are familiar with schnapp, you know, it has a particular aroma that you perceive when you open it. And there are so many other food like that that have some pleasant aroma. Those aromas are meant to entice you to the food. The last but not the least among these minor food components are phytochemicals, or we call them bioactive compounds. They provide health-promoting effects. They include antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, and disease prevention or preventive properties. They contribute to the functional properties of food, particularly in functional food and nutraceutical products, which we shall see or deal with very shortly. Now, let's look at the functional food and nutraceuticals. What is the definition of functional food? Functional foods are food that provide additional physiological benefits beyond their basic nutritional value when consumed as part of a normal diet. They may be natural food rich in beneficial compounds or food that have been fortified, enriched or enhanced with health-promoting ingredients. For example, if you have Gary, for instance, and you want to soak Gary, you can do that. But by the time you take Gary and add some other health-promoting ingredients to it before soaking, then you have transformed it into a functional food, because you have fortified or enriched the food with a health-promoting ingredient. Now, we talked of bioactive compounds a few minutes back, and this functional food actually contains bioactive components such as probiotics, those are living organisms, antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, dietary fiber, phytochemicals, and other steroids that helps to improve health and reduce the risk of heart diseases or certain diseases. Nutraceuticals are products derived from food sources but consumed in medicinal or supplements such as capsule, tablets, powder, or liquid. Like I mentioned earlier, the term combines nutrition and pharmaceutical, reflecting their roles in promoting health, preventing disease, or supporting treatment of certain conditions. Let's look at the recent trend in functional food and pharmaceuticals. Recent development in food science, biotechnology, and nutrition research have significantly influenced the evolution and functional food and nutraceuticals. These trends are driven by increasing health awareness, the need for disease prevention, technological innovation, and consumer demand for healthier food products. So in this case, you have nutrition that are personalized, which is one of the most significant trends in functional food and nutraceuticals. Advances in nutrigenomics, the study of interaction between genes and nutrition, allows researchers to design food and supplements targeted to specific health needs of individuals. There is also development of functional food and beverages as a recent trend. Where food are enriched with bioactive compounds that promote health. And consumers increasingly prefer this, obtaining health benefits directly from the food rather than supplements. Examples include probiotic beverage, fortified cereals, protein-rich snacks, bars, and food enriched with omega-3 fatty acids, or antioxidants. Now, there are also advances in biotechnology and biofortifications, whereby modern biotechnology play a major role in improving the nutrition quality of food. Techniques such as genetic engineering, genome editing, and precision fermentation are used to produce crops with enhanced level of vitamins, minerals, and proteins. A major challenge for many nutraceutical compounds is poor bioavailability. Bioavailability. Recent advances in nanotechnology, nanoencapsulation, and microencapsulation have improved the stability, solubility, and absorption of bioactive compounds. These technologies enable controlled release and accurate delivery of nutrients. Thereby increasing effectiveness in disease prevention and treatment. Now, the growing understanding of the human gut microbiome has stimulated the development of functional food containing probiotics, prebiotics, and symbiotics. These products aim to improve gut health, enhance immune function, and influence metabolic and neurological diseases through modulation of intestinal microorganisms. Now, there is a global shift towards plant-based functional food due to health, ethical, and environmental conditions or considerations. Food derived from legumes, soy, algae, and plant proteins are being developed as alternatives to animal products while providing functional benefits such as high fiber, antioxidants, and phytochemicals to individuals. Sustainability and key environmental factors are becoming key drivers in the development of nutraceutical ingredients. Another thing we need to know is that modern consumers increasingly prefer natural, minimal, processed, and transparent food products. So there must be clean label and natural ingredients. As a result, manufacturers are emphasizing clean label, nutraceutical, botanical extracts, herbal ingredients, and naturally derived antioxidants rather than synthetic additives. All these are arising because people are becoming more and more aware of the benefits of nutraceuticals and functional foods. And as such, functional food and nutraceuticals are now being designed to address specific health concerns such as cardiovascular health, immune support, mental well-being and cognitive function, gut health, and weight management and sports nutrition. We have come this far, and let's summarize what we have done so far. In this lecture, we have discussed and you have learned the composition of food, the role of major and minor food components, the concepts, benefits, and emerging trend of functional and nutraceutical, functional food and nutraceuticals. With this, I hope that you will be in a position to tease yourself with these study questions. Now that brings us to the end of lecture 2. Again, thank you for your time. Have a nice day.